Good evening, Tallahassee, and welcome to FSU Weather Friday edition. It's our first Friday back for this fall 2022 semester, and we are super excited to be bringing you the latest on our weather. Currently, it's 80 degrees over Doak Campbell Stadium's. That cloud cover with that setting sun is starting to make it pretty dark out there, getting a lot darker than it used to be this summer. I know I'm personally not enjoying that, but some people do. As for our temperatures right now, 80 degrees in Tallahassee, 79 in Quincy, 80 in Donnellsville, so seeing high 70s, low 80s in much of the area, with Crawfordville off the map at the moment. Our tropical overview, it's been a very, very quiet season for our Atlantic this year, but that's all changing. Hurricane season is not over. We are just starting to see it ramp up with Tropical Storm Earl and several other areas being watched that we will go over later today in the show. Potential flooding, rain this weekend, which is something you definitely need to watch. Tropic season ramping up and building heat out to our west. All this and more on FSU Weather starting right now.
Yes, and thank you so much, Melissa, for that beautiful overview. I do want to dive into the but first, I'm student meteorologist Genevieve Rejack. I do want to dive into our conditions currently in the Big Bend region. We currently have a flood watch in effect till Sunday at 6 p.m., and that is due to that low pressure system in the Gulf that is bringing us so much rain into the area and really tarnishing our plans. I mean, lots of rain, it's really dewy outside, so not ideal conditions. But what also isn't ideal is Hurricane Earl that is spinning off into the Atlantic that actually just is northwest of Bermuda. So really a lot of rain to Bermuda. We hope that they can stay afloat and do well in the coming days. But also we have some blistering heat out west. I do want to talk about that. If you have been following the show for the past week, you have been seeing really, really high temperatures that are breaking records out in the west, ranging from Arizona, Idaho, Utah, even Salt Lake City, I know was reaching up into the 100 hot, really, really hot temperature conditions. And all those factors are giving way to air that is create a potential finer warnings and watches in the western part. And so if you happen to be in California or you know anyone that is in that area, please make sure they have their AC and their water and that they're staying safe and not lighting any matches outside or having any bonfires. But for now, I'm going to send it off locally again to Caitlin at the wall.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. Yeah, it's been a beautiful week here in Tallahassee, but we are seeing conditions that are going to be quite rainy this weekend. Right now, we have isolated thunderstorms in our area, 80 degrees sitting. We've got a light breeze at 6 miles per hour. It is cloudy, as we can tell over Doak Campbell Stadium. Going to bring those showers and rainy conditions over the next couple of days. And looking at the res, we also have cloud cover over there too. 80 degrees there, isolated thunderstorms, just thunderstorms all throughout our area. But for our friends in Panama City, we have some prettier, nicer conditions, but you will be experiencing thunderstorms just like us here in Tallahassee. Looking at our temperatures for today, we were at 87 today with a low of 73. Really not really close to our record, which was at 101 in 1917, and not close to our low, which was at 55. But we have had lots and lots of rain and storm coverage throughout the day today, so that could have brought our temperatures a little bit lower than our records. Also in an area, like I've been mentioning, we've got a lot of rain and weather coming our way. We do have a flood aerial watch, which means as we get all of this rain over the next couple of days, we will have flood warnings and watches throughout the area. So as our ground gets saturated with all this rain, more rain comes, it leaves conditions to be pretty bad. So just make sure that you're looking and watching the roads and don't leave any situation, don't go into any roads that are way too flooded for you. We don't want anyone to get hurt in these weather conditions this weekend. Current temperatures, we're in the 80s, like upper 70s in the area. We are a little cooler towards the coast, sitting at about 73 in Apalachicola. These temperatures are going to kind of stay consistent as we have rain and cloud cover. We have really dewy conditions today. Current dew points sitting at 72, and those are really close to our temperatures, which means we do have really high humidity. So we do have dewy rain and dewy dew points today. So looking at our forecast for tonight, temperatures are going to be in the lower 70s throughout the night. And we will be seeing these thunderstorms, like I said, over the night tonight, so be careful with that. Future radar is showing that all weekend. So this is Friday going into Saturday night. This is Saturday morning. And going into Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, we have rain and scattered storms all weekend long. So that's something to be thinking about as we're going throughout our weekend and our weekend plans. And for tomorrow's forecast, same temperatures as today, lower 80s throughout our area. And then for tonight, we're sitting in 74, still the light breeze, still those thunderstorms. For tomorrow, like I said, 80 degrees, thunderstorms. And looking at our 7-day forecast, we have rain this weekend, lower chances next week, but we still have chances of afternoon thunderstorms going into the next couple of days in the next week. I'm going to pass things over to Nico to talk more about Florida.
All right, thank you so much, Caitlin. Looking at Florida, you can see that there's a lot of, from the low pressure in the Gulf, there's a lot of moisture coming into the state, especially over here in Tallahassee. You're going to be expecting some thunderstorms later tonight. And down in the middle of the state and down to Miami, it'd be daytime showers that are popping up throughout the day. Pensacola Beach is probably one of the nicest areas in the whole state right now. Pretty nice temperature, 83 degrees. Winds from the northeast at 12 miles per hour, and it's actually looking like a nice day for the beach. Panhandle Radar, as I said, all that moisture is starting to come up from the Gulf as the low pressure system is moving towards the state, and it's going to create some hazardous weather for the Big Bend area. Daytona Beach looking pretty cloudy. There's some, as you're going to see right here, there's some thunderstorms all along the coast right here. The Space Coast, especially down near Merritt Island, looks like some really strong thunderstorms. And for Fort Lauderdale, it looks like things have actually cleared up from what we saw earlier, although we will be expecting more scattered thunderstorms later on today. And South Florida is starting to clear up. There are those scattered thunderstorms, especially here in Fort Lauderdale, as we saw before. And this moisture from the Gulf is going to keep making its way in, so these thunderstorms are going to keep popping up all throughout the state. And looking at temperatures for the state of Florida, it's going to be in the mid to high 80s. Key West is going to be down cooler, and in Miami we're going to have some higher temperatures. But as we go up north, it's going to be cooler. And here in with the stationary front, the temperatures are going to stay relatively in the low 80s. Jacksonville seems a bit cooler, probably due to the increase in thunderstorms. And it looks like the whole state is going to look pretty dewy. Dew point temperature in the mid 70s. The moisture from the Gulf is definitely going to keep things really, really muggy. So for tonight in Florida, temperatures in the mid 80s to mid 70s throughout the whole state. But as you can see, there'll be thunderstorms throughout most of the state. For our future radar, you will see that that moisture is going to keep pushing into the mainland and create more hazardous weather for the rest of the weekend. For tomorrow's forecast, you're going to see continuing rain, and you're going to see higher temperatures, actually, 92 in Fort Myers, 93 in Orlando, but up here near the Panhandle is going to be a little bit cooler with only 80 in Tallahassee. So now I'm going to pass it off to Nico with the Southwest East region.
Thank you. All right, in the southeast, there's a lot of moisture all around the southeast, but it's especially prevalent in Florida right now. However, the storms have already cleared past Tampa, so you're actually going to have a nice sunset over the Gulf there today. Nashville, you can see some towering clouds in the background. I don't see anything really towering up, but you probably have got some showers in the area. Charlotte and New Orleans look nice at the moment. And here's why we have all the moisture. You've got a stalled out cold front and then a low pressure along the cold front. You get all these bands of rain rotating up. It's about to storm here in Tallahassee this evening, so definitely keep your eye on that. It's about to storm pretty much anywhere north of I-4 in Florida because you have a big band coming in from the Gulf and the northern part of Florida right now. For a look at your current temperatures all around the southeast, it's much cooler than normal, actually, because we've been having that rain today. So it's 81 degrees in Tallahassee with thunderstorms in the area, 81 in Tampa, 74 in Jacksonville. It's actually, as you get further north and west away from the front, up by Little Rock, it's 86, 87 degrees in Shreveport. The further you are from the front, the more sun you're having today. And a look at your wind speeds. You got the warm front up here. You got the wind here is straight out of the Gulf. That's why we've got so much moisture right now. It's going to bring in all the moisture from the Gulf ahead of this frontal system, and that's going to create all the showers and thunderstorms. And here is your forecast for the showers and thunderstorms. As you can see for us in Tallahassee, they're all just going to pour in. This is all day tomorrow. We're having rounds and rounds of storms. Even through Georgia, South Carolina is going to have storms too as it goes through this area. And that will continue into Sunday. As your muggy cast, dew points are high. It's very dewy outside. You're going to go outside and you're going to sweat if you're in this weather right now. And it stays this way because the front's not going to clear us until the second front pushes through on Monday. If you look at the weather around southeast, Charlotte, 75, it's going to rain a lot tomorrow. It starts to be a little bit drier as the front pushes through by Tuesday. The system will clear the southeast area. Nashville, you got the same story, except the front will clear you a day earlier. It'll clear you on Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday look very nice out, especially with the low in 56 degrees. That's going to be drier air. In Tampa, it's hot and humid. It's summertime in Florida. The front never really clears you in Tampa. You're still going to continue with the afternoon storms and temperatures almost at 90 degrees because it's summertime in Florida. You still have a few more weeks of this pattern. New Orleans, you're along the Gulf. You're going to have more storms too. The front does clear you by Tuesday as well, but that doesn't really have any effect on the temperature because it's summer in the southeast. Now here's the effect of the front and the system. You're going to have flooding rains. We have a slight risk of flooding rains all along the southeast, and right along the Georgia and South Carolina coast, you have a moderate risk. As you go into tomorrow, you still have a slight risk here. You have a slight risk in east of the Appalachians and the Carolinas, and then you have a marginal risk of flooding rains in the rest of the southeast. And Sunday, you have a marginal risk in the entire southeast of flooding rains as well. You got a slight risk of flooding rains up in North Carolina and in Virginia because the system is still affecting you there. And then as you look at your severe weather risk, you have a very low chance of tornadoes. There's a bit of rotation, a higher threat of winds, but there is a chance of having some strong to severe thunderstorms with this as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. The more sun you get ahead of the storms, the more likely you are to get severe weather. So stay weather prepared and weather aware this weekend. And now I'm going to pass things off to Melissa.
Thanks, Nico. And talking about weather preparedness, things in our Atlantic are just starting to get active. We'll go back there and look at our hurricane names quick. So we haven't had a whole lot of named storms so far this year, but so far we have made it to Hurricane Earl, which is still currently out there trying to keep moving. Our tropical overview, there's that Hurricane Earl, still at a Category 2. It's just made it past Bermuda. Thankfully, it didn't have a direct impact, so not too much there. But that's not the only thing going on out there. We have several other areas being monitored for development. Middle Atlantic, we are seeing that area that has been on their radar for a couple of days. Not a whole lot of chance for development in the next 5 days, but still being watched as conditions aren't totally favorable for it, but still conducive for development. We also have two other areas being watched, two African waves that have come off the African coast. Again, not expected to develop for at least the next 5 days. Invis 95L, that is that area in the central Atlantic being monitored. 30% chance of development in the next 2 days, 30% in the next 5. So again, not a whole lot of a threat right now, just something that needs to be monitored over the next couple days. Just keep up with what's going on to make sure that you're ready and consider making preparations ahead of time. Our second disturbance, even lower chances of it developing, 0% in 2 days to 20% in 5 days. So again, just an African wave that, since it does have a lot of moisture and it is moving over very warm surface areas, is just being watched at this time. Hurricane Earl has started to weaken as it's moving into slightly cooler waters, and it has a large area of dry air, which we'll look at in a minute, hindering its development. It is expected to further weaken over the next few days, eventually becoming a low pressure system Wednesday around 2 o'clock and dissipating off. Our Earl water vapor, again, as I was saying, that dry air off to the east of Earl is preventing that storm from getting any stronger. So along with those cooler surface temperatures coming up, it's not seeing any more chance of becoming a more intense storm. Over in the Pacific, we don't usually go out here, but this one is definitely different. Tropical Storm K is moving up the coast and towards Southern California and is actually bringing a lot of rainfall into California. This is a very unusual storm. Usually storms do not come up this way, but it's not going to be lasting a whole lot longer before it can actually make it to California. It is going to make a U-turn and start dissipating as, again, drier air is making its way in. Unlike our southeast coast, it is not dewy outside, or dewy, as Caitlin said earlier. So that storm is going to turn into that drier air and start to dissipate. Sea surface temperatures are above 80 degrees in most areas, which is why those systems are being monitored, and Earl is as well. Gulf water, you can see that moisture being ripped up towards the Florida Panhandle, which is where our rain threat is coming from. And over in the Caribbean, not much to watch either. Main development region, still a lot of dry air, not very dewy at all. So just some things to keep an eye on, but overall, not a whole lot of chances in the next 5 days. But Caitlin, we're seeing a lot of dry air also out west, aren't we?
Yeah, not very many dewy conditions out west right now. We've got some excessive heat warnings in California, all pretty much covering most of Northern California, and we've got some pretty strong fire warnings in Oregon and Washington. So yeah, not dewy conditions whatsoever in those areas. Looking at radar, dry. Anti-dewy, if you will. Literally no rain whatsoever. You do have a K down at the bottom of the screen. That's what that rain is. That's Tropical Storm K, but the rest of the area is looking really, really dry. And then just looking to the next 36 hours, kind of just overnight on Saturday, or overnight tonight and into Saturday, those conditions aren't changing. Hurricane K is going to make its way, bring a little bit of moisture, but we're still going to have really dry conditions in that area going into the next couple of days. If you're in Phoenix, you've got some warm conditions, sitting at 102 on Sunday, 103 next Friday. That's insane. Definitely different from the conditions that we see here. And also, if you live in Portland, you guys are going to have a bit of a cool down. Come Tuesday, dropping about 20 degrees. That's going to be extremely nice. But yeah, really excessive heat in the west, not dewy conditions, and just be aware of that as you go into the next couple of days.
That is absolutely true, Caitlin. I know I personally had a friend in California that I needed to warn about the heat, and he was so surprised that I had this knowledge and thought I was a genius, but I'm actually just weather aware and staying on top with FSU weather. Just like we want you to be right now with those isolated thunderstorms here for the Tallahassee area. Not only isolated thunderstorms, but it is really dewy outside. You can feel that dew point with that 80 degrees, really making it quite unbearable for this time of night, especially as you want to get into your Friday night. But for the area cameras, we have the beautiful FSU Sportsplex where we're playing our IM games, but guess what? We are not playing those tonight because that sky is so gray. It's like a grandmother's hair. But FSU at Panama City, we have some clouds. I see a little bit of some color in the sunset, Lake Bradford, gray. St. George, droplets on the camera. I'm sure it's dewy over there. Anyways, going into our local radar for the Big Bend region, we have this massive amount of storms coming up from the south of us from the Gulf, bringing in all this rain. So be prepared, keep your umbrella handy, and I would advise to stay inside. Of course, it's really dewy outside as well. So unless you have some kind of treatment on your hair, you're going to make sure that that hair doesn't poof up. Put it in a ponytail. Also, for our current temperatures for the Tallahassee region, we have 80 degrees here in Tallahassee, really, really warm for our, what do we need? 6:20 p.m., 80 degrees, oh my goodness. Anyways, it gets nice and cool by the coast at 73, which is cool depending on you. But for tonight's forecast, we're going to cool down just by a nice little 73 degrees here in Tallahassee. Still going to be really dewy, so put that hair away. But anyways, in Thomasville, it's going to be 70 degrees, just a little bit chillier, but I'm sure it's still dewy. For tonight, we have our stargazing forecast, and we do have a very, very specific number there for our full moon. It'll be 99.1% full, so I'm sure that you want to go and see that. But just kidding, the conditions are not very good. They're pretty poor, I'm sure, because of that cloud cover. That is not letting you see it. And here, let's see again that repeat of clouds on our satellite, bringing through really cloudy and dark skies into the Tallahassee region, and also all those storms coming up from the Gulf with that low pressure system. Tomorrow's forecast, I'm sure it'll be dewy as well, but 80 degrees in Tallahassee tomorrow. Really, we're staying in the lower 80s for the whole region. Thomasville, lucky for you, you dipped down into 77. And for airport delays, we are looking good for the Tallahassee International Airport. Looking good all around. We do have some nice flights going through, and I do want to pass it on over to Melissa. What are you going to talk about, Melissa?
So we're seeing a lot more activity coming up in the tropics. So we're actually going to talk about that, seeing how to stay safe in the tropics. It looks like we skipped a slide there, so we'll go on back. Tropical cyclone development, there's three main things aiding to its development. Warm sea temperatures, little to no wind shear, and little to no dry air. So the main reason why we haven't seen a whole lot of tropical activity this year is because it's been very, very dry out in the Atlantic, not very dewy at all, as Caitlin said and I said earlier. So that lack of moisture, lack of dewiness is putting a damper on our tropical activity for the year, which all my meteorology friends are pretty bummed about, but most of you are probably happy about. So we do have Hurricane Earl that has managed to hang on up there, but as you can see, he's moving out of that surface temperatures of above 80. But as for our other storms down off of the coast of Africa and in the central Atlantic, you can see why those areas are being watched. There is very, very, very warm surface temperatures in those areas, which isn't going to change because we haven't had a whole lot of storms to bring that heat and moisture out. Wind shear, not a whole lot of wind shear inflicting on these storms. A little bit going on, but overall, still not anything to worry about too much. Main development region, again, dry air. That huge area of drier air is sitting right by those storms, so it is preventing it from doing anything. But moving up to Earl, again, dry air, no dewiness. It's going to be choking out that storm, preventing it from developing anymore, and we'll be seeing the end of that. Same thing for K. Drier conditions means death of a storm, so we will see the end of K here in the next few days. But we're going to turn things up to a happier note and take a look at our sports.
What is going on around the rest of the country. So I don't know, the monitor's not working right now, but we're going to take a look real quick. Okay, there we go. So men's golf is playing the Maui Gym Intercollegiate. The Maui Gym Intercollegiate in Scottsdale, Arizona. Temperatures are looking pretty nice, 87 degrees at noon, and higher temperatures down when they're playing. Here we're going to be taking a look at the Arizona region, up here in the town of Dewey, Arizona, looking pretty good. Phoenix, not much rain. This is actually K. K is actually bringing in some moisture into the lower desert regions of Arizona. For women's golf, they play in Charleston. Mid-80s temperatures, not looking too bad for a good day out in the course. But there will be rain, as you can see right now. That's actually the current radar. There's going to be moisture coming in from the Atlantic, and they might get rained out. Our national champions are playing Rice in Houston on September 11th. Temperatures in the 90s, and at 6 p.m., 87 degrees. So actually pretty warm temperatures. Hopefully our ladies can eke out a win. This is the current radar in Houston, and everything's looking pretty good for now. And volleyball plays Creighton at 2 p.m. And now we're going to send it over to Nico for around town.
Thank you. Around town this evening, you got the showers and the storms. They're creeping up into Leon County now. The rain is actually very close to Tallahassee at this point, so if you're out and about now, you're going to start to see the rain falling on your windshields and outside. If you're outside, you might want to have a rain jacket around town tonight. Look at your future radar. Storms, and more storms all evening, and then we get to do this again tomorrow. If anything, tomorrow looks like it will actually be wetter than today. So if you have plans outside tomorrow, you might want to bring a rain jacket or think of rescheduling that. If you're going out overnight in College Town, storms this evening, and then that transitions into a heavy rain
I forgot what he
overnight.
was
You
doing,
don't have
so
as much
like,
instability, so your chance of getting thunderstorms and getting
Next
severe
segment.
weather is
I
lower,
don't
but
brain
you
fart
still have all the moisture, and we're going to get heavy rain. And if you have a dog to walk it, there honestly isn't really a great time to walk the dog tomorrow morning. Just bring a raincoat.
Yeah, I didn't know.
At least the temperature is going to be nice, but that's probably not the type of weather you want to see if you want to go outside and walk your dogs. If you're taking a drive around town tomorrow, if you want to avoid potential flooding rains and severe weather that come later in the afternoon, you want to go early. But it doesn't look like a very nice day to be outside in general. Tomorrow would be the kind of day where you want to spend the day inside if possible. And looking at your airport delays, we don't have any delays out of Tallahassee right now. And there's a storm over Tallahassee over this weekend that could change potentially. So keep your eyes on that for sure. And then, yeah, you'll definitely have to watch that if you're flying out this weekend. And now I'm going to pass things off to Genevieve.
Yes, Nico, it's definitely been extremely rainy. Now is the time to do all of those indoor hobbies that you've been wanting to do. Personally, last Friday, I taught myself how to knit, so I'm really curious to see if I can make anything, if I could actually make a product. But for those of you who aren't interested in knitting, and maybe instead you're interested in cars, you can drive down to Wakulla Springs, our friendly little neighbor, our favorite place, and you can drive up into that car show. Though unfortunately you're going to want to stay in your car, maybe bring some coffee and snacks with you because it will be raining and it will be very dewy, moist out there. The dew point will be high and the temperature will also be high. But for that Tallahassee radar, we're seeing all those storms. Look at that. They're just crossing us so intensely that is bringing all these storms. Currently, we are not seeing rain that I know of outside of our weather studio, but really, in general, just a lot of rain to come for the weekend and going into next week. We see Monday and Tuesday, we're going to be seeing 60% and 40% chance of rain. All percentages of rain that we need to be aware of, whether it's 10%, 60%, 90% tomorrow. Really, Saturday is not looking like a great day, but overall, it will be really dewy, it will be very warm, and it will be very rainy. Another event that you might want to go to, the Boots and Brews Country Music Festival that is happening tomorrow, September 10th, raining again, but in case you do want to listen to some country music, try and get on down there and hopefully you will make it and it won't be rained out. But for now, please follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather to keep up and be weather aware. Like us on Facebook if you'd like to. That's also FSU Weather. Keep up with us. And hopefully you're watching us live on YouTube at FSU Weather. And follow us on Instagram. And we're going to close out the show with our beautiful last look at Tallahassee, our rainy weekend to come. Look at those storms. For now, I'm student meteorologist Genevieve Rejock. Have a great night.